What's up, Diablo 4 Sorks? So let's go over it. Season 5, what is going to be the top tier build for the Sorks? Well, it's definitely going to be Chain Lightning if we're using PTR as a metric. With the brand new Axial Conduit pants, they're going to have this special unique ability where Chain Lightning is going to target the enemies, and then it's going to come back to you, spin around, and then go back to the enemies, then spin around, and consistently just have this little cycle. Now, after it does the cycle, each time it does it, it drains mana from you, and then after it drains a total of 66 mana, it's going to explode and do some crazy amounts of damage. These pants, 100%, are going to be the best pants for this build. And you can hit for billions and billions, or even quadrillions, trillions of damage. It does crazy amounts of damage. This is probably one of the best builds going into Season 5. Not just best Sork build, this is best build in general. However, there may be some unintended, like double dipping, quadruple dipping, I don't know, unintended interactions with the Crown of Lucian. It's doing crazy amounts of damage. But I want to start off the video by mentioning, even if they somehow stop this from like going crazy in terms of damage, it's still going to be one of the best brand new Sork builds for Season 5 because, well, they just definitely want to support some sort of lightning build with a lot of the buffs that we're getting for Sorks, but there's also some nerfs, strangely enough. And I want to say, even if, again, they nerf the Crown of Lucian interaction with this, it's still going to be one of the better builds, as a lot of people have given them feedback that they need to buff this. And the reason why they need to still buff it, even though I'm telling you guys it does crazy damage, maybe they're not going to fix it. Bash Barbarian was a build that just really didn't get fixed when they already knew it was one of the top tier builds. And on top of that, we also had Twisting Blades that was pretty broken with Poison Imbue for a long time. So who knows what they will do to actually fix this. Diablo's 4 game state is kind of in a state where you got to run the OP thing that has like more double dipping, more sort of unintended interactions until they fix all of these things. But even if they do fix this, they'll probably still buff this in some sort of way or leave it the same. My honest solution is, well, let Sorks have fun for a season because they have not been hot literally since we had that awesome Ball Lightning build in like Season 2. That build was absolutely amazing. But this is mainly going to be a Chain Lightning build for this upcoming season. However, there is a nerf with the Sork with Ice Armor, but there's also a buff. So you can actually increase our ice armor duration. If you look at my bar over here, there's actually one slot that's kind of free and open up to whatever you want to run. But you can see we are basically looping ice armor. So even though ice armor got a nerf in terms of like the way you would apply shields, you can actually still keep that up. And you only need maybe 1 or 2 rolls on this, depending on if you hit the master working or not. You can keep up ice armor. I actually really like ice armor because it can give you extra bonuses for having it up, whether you want to do more damage or get whatever bonus that you're looking for, whether it's some sort of mana, that is also there. But let's go ahead and go over the build. But again, take this with a grain of salt. This is from PTR's footage, but a lot of people requested me to upload the build, and this way you guys can have it kind of ready. And most of the stuff you're kind of going to be looking for anyways if you're an Eternal character and you're like, I kind of want to start getting my stuff ready so I can actually build this when the time is right. So for starters, let's go over the skills and kind of how they work. So for starters, we are running Ice Armor. So Ice Armor is in every Sork build. Heck, Ice Armor, Flame Shield, when anything goes wrong, you just activate them both. Now with the Ice Armor duration, you can just upkeep this up 100% of the time if you copy my build. But Ice Armor, Flame Shield, just your defensive stuff. Chain Lightning, that's your source of damage. And then we have Unstable Currents for more attack speed, but it also kind of just shoots out other things. And you have another chance maybe at getting, because whenever you cast a shock, a random core, conjuration, or mastery shock skill is also casted, which can be better for any other sort of like application of damage or stuns or lucky hits. It's nice to have these other bonuses. And we actually have a new toy called the Orange Herald that can kind of help out with this. And then we are running Ice Blades if you want to. This slot is totally up for debate on what you want to run, but if you want to run Ice Blades, you can actually proc Cold, you can run Blizzard, whatever you really want here as an ice skill if you want to run Tal Rashas or proc one of the things in the Elementalist glyph. So Ice Blade's kind of optional here, whatever you want to run. And then we are running Teleport, which is on every Sork build. For the enchantments, we are running a Firebolt as well as Chain Lightning. However, you can run Ice Armor if you want to. There's a lot of weird things where Chain Lightning doesn't actually work correctly with some of the newer stuff. A lot of these things, again, they were tested on PTR, so expect some sort of bugs. There was like the Vox Omni on staff, and that thing was completely busted, and it didn't really work properly. So expect maybe this to be kind of like the go-to here. But as far as the aspects goes, Crown of Lucian, you have to run this. This is what's giving us crazy amounts of damage. Whether this gets nerfed or, you know, I don't know how hard they will nerf this, but even if they cut this in half, it's still definitely like the best thing in the game. Really, really good stuff indeed. And then we're looking for Mage Lord's aspect or kind of whatever defensive aspect you want. But since we're running Veer's Mastery, I think it's kind of nice to get extra survivability. And then we're actually looking for specifically the armor, as well as we can temper armor on one of these stats as well. That will really help out. It's just I can't put certain things in here because it's like the PTR as far as like what we're able to put on, but you can also get the ice armor duration. That is another defensive stat that you can get here. But mana per second and armor ideally are going to be there. And then the last stat doesn't really matter. It could be int or whatever. And then we do need to run a Curse Touch. This build is really, really good if you can have things vulnerable. If things aren't vulnerable, just like in any other Diablo build, you just simply do no damage. And also, this build is godly for the Helltide. It's probably the best build, I would say, in the game, even faster than the Teleport Rogue build, which is probably one of the top tier like speed farming builds, because you literally get infinite teleports, so, well, as long as there's a target to teleport to. But like the way that the Chain Lightning works is it just tags everything and just goes off screen, and because Helltide, everything dies in one hit anyways, it's just so incredibly godly. So you don't really need attack speed, by the way, with this build, which is a little bit different. So since SORC is getting some nerfs in the survivability department, I actually opted to run max life on a lot of pieces of gear. Normally you'd run like attack speed, but again, you don't need it for this build. Just ranks of Chain Lightning and Crit Strike Chance are going to be kind of your go-to, and then Axial Conduit, the brand new pair of pants, and then aspect of Orange Herald. So what does this do? So it has the special ability when you shoot something for a lucky hit to reduce the cooldown of your ultimate, and you're going to be able to basically get that on every single one, because Chain Lightning doesn't have a crazy lucky hit chance, but because it hits so many dang times, well, it kind of actually does. And hopefully that kind of makes sense. But really, really good stuff indeed, and it's a brand new thing. If you want to run anything else, you can run Rakanoth too, because that can give you non-physical damage, which can make your damage go up way higher and gives you cooldown reduction. Those are both optional, but if you don't happen to have a regular pair of boots with like mana per second, mana does become a problem in this build, for sure, because you're just going to run out of mana, and then your pants aren't going to be able to activate, and you do zero DPS, so I opt to run regular boots until you get maybe this Greater Affix and the Masterwork on your chest. Yeah, but if you don't happen to roll like Greater Affix like armor and you can't temper with armor, instead of Mage Lord, run Juggernauts. It's fine. That's what I'm running in the gameplay here. Just always trying to give you guys the best stuff. And then Elementalist aspect, this is great because core skills cast at or above 100 mana gain increased critical strike chance. This is how we're going to get 100% crit real easy in this build. We're also going to be scaling mana. So Elementalist aspect over here, you can also get increased like maximum resource, and you can even pop a potion that gives you it just so you can get that maximum crit. Lockeran's Talisman will give you an insane amount of crit as well, but if you want to run a regular amulet, then this becomes even better. You may actually need to if you want to, you can instead run like Esu's Boots too. But if you want to remove Elementalist aspect, that's fine. But getting 100% crit in any build is absolutely godly. But remember, this is when you cast the skill, not when you're looking at your current value. So as long as you cast it at that point and it's bouncing around, it's all crits, man. It's great. But Lockeran's Talisman is going to be in pretty much every single build except for dot build, so we're going to be running that. Ring of Starless Skies, Crown of Lucian is kind of like the go-to bread and butter for Season 5 for every single build. And then we need to run Recharging Aspect here. Until you get your mana situated, run Recharging. Later, sure, throw in Talrashas and the Ice Blades, you'll be good to go. But otherwise, you're going to run out of mana and you're going to be like, dude, this build sucks because it drains a lot of mana. You need the Chain Lightnings to bounce around. I wish I could just throw this in one of like the offensive things, but it doesn't actually work like that because it has to be in the amulet or in the rings because it's like a resource one. And then for our offhand over here, and the reason why I like running offhand is because you get extra cooldown on it, which is quite nice, and you get more cooldown, you get maximum resource. All those are great stats. We're looking just for like the Chain Lightning projectiles twice, but sometimes what happens is you cast it twice and then you maybe cast it again, you get double, and then you start running into mana problems with it. So if you want to, honestly, you may not need to roll those like augments for it to cast twice, but it already rolls Chain Lightning twice on here, so you can't really have 100% control regardless. So what you may have to do is kind of watch when you're spamming the button to make sure you're not getting like 4 chain lightnings, because then your mana's just gone. So it is kind of a difficult build again to kind of manage, and especially with gearing. But as far as the gems go, we want a lot of crit in this build, so emerald, ruby, and then diamond. And then I wrote a bunch of notes. If you're like, oh, I don't have this, you can play this. There's a bunch of different notes here. If you want to play control and get the bonus with like a charge with crackling energy, by all means go for it. It's just going to be a little bit harder to get all of your other things kind of match up. I'll try to make my builds as beginner friendly as possible, but no other things for maybe more mid-maxers. Like if you want to run Rymet, sure, but that's going to make your build incredibly hard because you're going to be extra squishy. However, if you do get, greater affix, let's say plus to armor in your like boots and stuff, you can make it work. Rymet is definitely pretty good as well as control. And then as far as our skills go, let's go ahead and go over the skill trees. I'll make this a little bit bigger for you guys. So at the very beginning, it does not matter. Then we're just going to run chain lightning, more damage over here, and then we're going to get the damage reduction, and then ice armor, really good stuff indeed. We want the one that every time we spend mana, it reduces the cooldown. If you want to get frost blades, that's optional. You can get all these over here, and then I just had an extra point, so I put it in an icy veil. But the important thing, devouring blaze, and then we get some extra stuff for mana because mana is a problem. I like to have a little bit of heals, so if you don't want to run warmth, that's fine. Ran a bunch of the other ones, specifically getting damage reduction with electrocution. And then we just need prime unstable currents because we don't really benefit too much off of crackling energy, but if you want to throw that in, it's not that big of a deal. And then of course fierce mastery, and it is getting fixed in the season, so you can no longer run anything. It has to actually be lightning skills. So yeah, really good stuff for extra survivability. And then for the Paragon board, let's go ahead and start out. What we're doing, because we're not running Talrash's Ring. If you do have Talrash's Ring, you can swap it up a little bit because we get a lot of bonuses to what's called non-physical damage, because we need to hit that bonus on Frigid Fate. Because if you don't hit that, well, you just lose on basically almost another glyph. So we run Unleash over here because it gives us bonus to these nodes, and that's non-physical. And then we're also running over here, we're running Elementalist, and this will also give us bonus to non-physical, which there's some non-physical over here, and then more non-physical stuff. There's extra elite damage. Then we get Exploit. We're getting this extra mana nodes over here. If you don't want to run the Elementalist one, you could drop like this whole like kind of section and just rotate a little bit. It's kind of up to you in terms of what your rolls are too. But on Elemental Summoner, we're running Exploit. And then we run Burning Instinct with Tactician. This one over here does give us a bonus to the rare. And because we're always going to be burning things, it's just a good source of extra damage reduction over here. And then there's also damage to burning enemies, which is okay. Those are the only like important orders. After this, the order really doesn't matter too much. So then we can go over here to Ceaseless Conduit with Flame Feeder, because everything's going to be burning, so 10x damage. And then we also have Static Surge. After we spend mana, we're going to be able to have another Chain Lightning. The next one's going to give us 10% of our mana, and I really like this a lot because specifically it also has a bonus where this mana cost requirement is reduced by mana cost reduction. So you could actually run mana cost reduction, and that can help out the build even more for whatever that you're going for in terms of like your resource management. And then we just get Frigid Fate on Destruction over here, so you get the Frigid Fate bonus because again we're getting all of those damage specifically with non-physical damage. And then of course we're getting destruction over here because we're going to be wanting to get as much crit as possible, because well, when you have 100% crit, getting crit damage is good. And then here's just me like just kind of testing out some of the stuff in terms of damage, and this is eventually like you'll see this number eventually. I was kind of just testing out other things. If you want to run Intercom to get even more crazy boss DPS, which is kind of what I was testing out over here, feel free to go ahead and do so. But yeah, this build is very, very good, probably the top tier. But again, if things change, it's still going to be one of the better SORC builds for the new season, as it's kind of the only new thing that we have. Vox Omnium, not really that great. And the new sword, well, that's an older build anyways, which is the Fire of Bolt build, which actually just took a nerf recently. So hopefully, so my thought process is I'm going to give them some feedback, and, we're so close into the next season already that if they just keep it the same with the bugs, maybe they can reword how it works, and then this way they really don't have to fix how it's interacting with the Chronolushan, giving us that crazy damage, and it makes it faster for them, makes the community happy, and it gives them like an easier time on fixing it, because it could be a really hard bug to fix. I really don't know the interaction of like why it's doing so much damage, but this is definitely the best sorceress build and the best build probably in the entire game if they don't fix it. If they do fix it, well, like I said, they're probably going to be buffing it in some other ways, whether they look at the axial conduit and make the pants do crazy more damage. Maybe they just go like, hey, plus 10 to chain lightning or something. But if they don't, then this build is absolutely worthless, and there's no point. Basically, Sorks are going to be complaining on the forums again, including myself, and I think that they really do need a buff. So keep it the same, rework it, and this is like kind of my little end game little feedback here for like kind of how it's working. I think that the greatest solution here is to specifically change the wording, just make it work. However it's working, just make it work, but change the wording on it so people don't say that, oh, this build is bugged. Make it so Crown Illusion says like, I don't know, or Axial Conduit says when comboing with, I don't know if they need to have it specifically say Crown of Lucian, but however they need to reword this specific effect with the Crown of Lucian to make it work the same way that it was working on the PTR, because this build was super fun, and it made sorcerers feel powerful. I literally felt like I was playing a barbarian here, and that is one of the things that I think Sork has kind of been lacking. While we do have the highest push build with the Fire Bolt, Fire Wall Sork, it's not something that I would say your average player is playing. It's like a top 0.1% sort of a build, and it's very, very hard to get running, and it is getting nerfed in the next season because you can no longer become immortal. So it is going to be something that Sorks need something to play with, unless they're going to be buffing Frozen Orb by like, you know, quadruple stats or something. This is going to be the build that people want to play, and if it's not the same level as power as what's already kind of on the table, well, then people just won't play the Sork. But anyways, that's my little end game little feedback for them. But I'm curious to know, what do you guys think? Let me know down below. But yeah, start getting some of these pieces of gear if you're looking to play this. It's definitely one of the most fun builds in the game. But that's gonna wrap things up. And if you're new here, make sure you are subbed with the bell notification on, as things may change with this build. And the reason why I'm uploading all of these now is so when the season drops, or the patch notes drop, I'm not going to flood your sub box with like 30 videos all at once, and then you can kind of know ahead of time, maybe kind of to what to look for in pieces of gear as far as the drop goes. But thanks for tuning in, and check the pin for the build link and the planner. Peace out.